want a second look.
Yeah, there's something about this one, isn't there? Familiar somehow.
We think we're stuck in a specific fragment in time, and we've been repeating that same fragment over and over again.
But the flirting's over, Sherlock. Daddy's had enough now.
Hello, welcome to You've Seen It Before, TV Reviews Connection in Mind. Secret Invasion is the latest MCU series on Disney+. It is created by Kyle Bradstreet and stars Samuel Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn, among others, as the continuing adventures of Nick Fury, who comes back to Earth after spending time on the Saber space station, only to find that the Skrulls, who have been on Earth for some time, are starting to cause havoc, and one of them is planning to lead a invasion and essentially wage war against humankind. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Secret Invasion, as well as certain other things. I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first and foremost, but just so you know, there will be some spoilers later on in this review. So, with that said, some spoiler-free thoughts on Secret Invasion. Is it a good miniseries? Is it a good Marvel series? How does it progress the MCU as we head into Phase 5 here? I would say as far as Marvel series go, this is definitely another middle-of-the-road property because, while I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad or, anger-worthy, really, like something like, people reacted negatively to She-Hulk, or, some people react negatively to What If, but, frankly, this is definitely a middle-of-the-road. I mean, the best I can say about it is, it's fine. It's not nearly as good as some of the other Marvel series on there. It's no WandaVision, it's no Loki. It's not even a Hawkeye, as far as I'm concerned. And really that's kind of a shame because, the continuing saga of Nick Fury is something that, it could have been such a interesting concept. And, as a character, we haven't delved that much into Nick Fury. We had the flashback of him in the 90s with Captain Marvel. We saw him, him describe some things, tease some things in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. But here we get more flashbacks, between after the events of Captain Marvel and present day, which is again post blip, so or post snap, whatever you want to call it. So we get to see Fury's struggle dealing with that as well. There are some interesting concepts that are brought up in this series, like in the end of Captain Marvel, it was suggested that Captain Marvel and with the help of the Skrulls find a new home. Well, the Skrulls are on Earth. How did that happen? How is that affecting their relationship? How is the people of Earth reacting to Skrulls on Earth? It delves into all these things, and it's trying very hard to be a spy thriller. A lot of intrigue. Some how people reacting to this? What are the plotting? Is this a fake out or something like that? But it doesn't develop those. I'm sorry to say, and that's a shame. I feel like this, this isn't a spoiler per se, but it's the biggest comparison that I can make is with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because just like that series, this should have been either a 2.5 hour or 2 hour movie, and you could trim some of these things down, massage the writing a little bit to trim the fat, so to speak, and dive deeper into these issues, hit the issues that really matter, or you make this a 10 or 12 episode series that actually is a slow burn and diving into these, diving into the character motivation. There's so many other characters that we could have spent much more time diving into, such as Amelia Clark's Gaia, who is the daughter of Ben Mendelsohn's Talos, and there are several flashbacks. We could have spent so much more time flashback things. How did these characters get to this point? And you get some of that, and you get the barest minimum of how they try to explain their actions, and then after that it's like, no, they fill in the rest with a long exposition, monologue. They're monologuing to fill in the gaps, and that's not very engaging. For one, again, this is also one where the weekly release schedule negatively impacts things, because the way it's structured, it feels like the way it's filmed and set up, it feels like a 2.5 hour, maybe 3 hour movie that they just chopped up into 6 pieces willy-nilly because, well, the studio demanded a 6-episode mini series, so here you go. It's like, this could have easily been a 2-week miniseries event where each part is hour and a half long, and big event happens at the end of part 1, and then you wait a week to find out the rest. It's like, shake it up a little bit, because the way they released it did it no favors. I was not engaged at all throughout. I mean, I waited the first 2 weeks. So I watched the first 2 episodes back to back. It's like, okay, that's definitely interesting. And then I waited a couple weeks to get 3 or 4 going. It's like, okay, this is definitely intriguing. But if you're waiting weeks for this, I can't imagine you enjoying this nearly as much. Because, man, there's some things that it just drags, and we're being asked to care more about some of these characters that I just don't care. Like, for one thing, diving deep, this should have focused on, diving deep on the Skrulls and, Talos, what's he been up to for 20 years after we last saw him in Captain Marvel? He's been in 1 movie. That's it. And that was 2019 that we last saw him, and we're getting him again. All right, what's he been up to? How good? Yeah, okay. But don't really address that at all. And then, there's so many things that you could. That's why I say it's like, this feels like, the way it's set up, this feels like the worst of both worlds. Like, you could have made it a 2-part miniseries, or you could have gotten like maybe 12 episodes out of it, and really stretch it out, really dive into these characters and how they're working. Because by the end, I can't say this is necessarily a spoiler, because it happens in all the Marvel properties. It devolves into a 3rd act fight, and at that point I'm like, I just don't care. And that's not what this kind of storyline should be. So, again, I can't say this is necessarily the worst of the Marvel series, which a lot of people are, and I don't agree with that, because there's definitely some good things in this, but I can't call it very good either. I just say it's kind of there. It's fine. So, if I was going to give Secret Invasion a letter grade, I would say this is C+, in my opinion. I wish I could have rated a little higher, but, what can you say? I was not grabbed by this. I was not engaged nearly as much as what it should have been. So, those are my main spoiler-free thoughts on Secret Invasion. Some spoiler-filled talk now on some plot developments and character arcs that seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Really only one that's worth mentioning, and there's a couple of blending things going on. The whole conceit of the Secret Invasion is you don't know who's a Skrull. It's like, all right, who's this Skrull? I mean, is this person a Skrull? Is this person a Skrull? What's motivating this person action? Are they motivated out of human fear, or is it a Skrull doing something nefarious? Did they get replaced by a Skrull? Because it's revealed then both Rhodey and the agent whose name I can't remember. They were replaced by Skrulls at some point. Which the memory mind machine that they're hooked up to, so that the Skrulls have access to their memories throughout. That just made me think of an episode from season 3 of Stargate SG-1, Foothold, where a very similar thing takes place. People are replaced by aliens that take their form, and they also get, the originals get hooked up to hooked up to a machine that, links with their thoughts, and so they know all their information. But, really, the best point of criticism that could be made here is, trying to capture the paranoia of, who are people who they say they are and what are their motivations behind it. It's very much Battlestar Galactica in that sense, especially the early seasons where you're like, all right, who is a Cylon? There are, several models that are left. It's like, what are their motivations? Are they going to be changing sides? And there's also rifts within the Cylons, like, just as there are rifts within the Skrulls on this in here. You could also kind of link it with Invasion of the Body Snatchers sort of thing, where who do you know who to trust on that front. But yeah, like I said, these tropes have been done before, and in my mind, they've been done better. So even by a single one-off episode of Stargate. So I don't know what else to tell you there. I wish I could say this was going to be a fun series, and another problem that this series had was, the shock deaths that, a lot of series have that, where it's like, oh, you kill off a character, no one is safe. First time that happened, Maria Hill, it's like, oh, okay, they're actually committing to killing off Maria Hill, and she was, I wouldn't say a necessarily minor character, but definitely not a main protagonist, definitely a main supporting role, and they kill her off. So okay, so there's definitely some potential for some serious stuff. And then they kill off Talos the same way. It's like, oh man, that was a huge blow. The only difference between Maria Hill, well, we've seen her through all the way back in 2012's The Avengers, and I think she may have been in Thor. The first Thor, I don't remember. I don't think she was, but again, 2012, we had all these and so many other properties since that. We've had a lot of time with Maria Hill, so her death, that impacted me, watching it. And then when Talos dies, like, I know I'm supposed to feel, something, oh man, what a tragic loss. And in the story wise, it certainly affects Gaia as the character, because that was, he was her father. But for me as an audience member, it's like, again, one movie with him, barely even a full movie, because I think those Skrulls don't even show up until like a third of the way through the movie, and I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I'm sorry. Say what you will about that, but I'm just not feeling this death the way I think this series is supposed to tell me I should, and that's another reason why I think the series just kind of fell flat for me. So, yeah, I wish I could say more, but really that's all I kind of have to say. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. It just kind of is, and it's a shame that more and more Marvel projects these days are starting to feel like that they're just kind of there. So, what did you think of Secret Invasion? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss something? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next TV review, which will be for my Season 2 recap of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, as well as my next movie review, which I already have one up for Meg 2 The Trench. So look for that on my channel. If you like this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Just remember, there is nothing new under the sun, and yes, you have seen it before.